is already a doctor. And then you start thinking, okay, that's going to be very boring. I thank you. I tell you, she has been before with us, and that was very exciting. So you will soon see our great friend, Dr. Lasma Licite, or is it Licite Lasma? I'm confused. Wow. Give her a big hand.
Hello, it's nice to be again here and to meet all of you. And today I will continue the topic Teddy was talking about already before lunch, about technical changes having effect on the cultural sector. And at the beginning, I would like to start with a short story from my personal life, which happened a few weeks ago. So one of my good friends, he just moved to a new apartment, and he asked to me, can you do me a small favor? Can you make a painting on my wall? I looked at him, and I knew already the answer, which was no, because I said to him, you know, I haven't done this before. I haven't learned something to do in the painting. And the third reason, I said, I don't want to destroy your beautiful new wall. And but still, I was a little bit curious, and I asked him, what would you like to see on that wall? And he said, well, nothing special, something like Van Gogh's sunflowers. Okay, nothing special. So I said, sorry, unfortunately, you cannot hire Van Gogh, and unfortunately, you cannot hire me as well, because I'm not able to do that. But as he is a very good friend of mine, I decided to make kind of surprise for him. And so I tried to draw, not exactly what you see here, but just simple sunflower in a bigger format, and I called it like a greeting card. Because this Wednesday he has a birthday, so I decided to send him something like a small present. So I started to draw. Don't be very critical. I draw very regularly, which means each 7 years, after each 7 years, I make one drawing. So this is the second one in my life. Yes, the second one. So, and as you see, I'm drawing on floor, sometimes on sofa, so no normal working place as well. But when I started to draw that sunflower, I faced with several challenges. And one of the most important ones was I didn't know how to make that sunflower to look real, or how to get the depth of that painting. So what I did, I called to one of my friends and I asked for advice. And she said, well, look in YouTube, you can find there everything. And that was like, okay, yes, we have technologies, we have social networks, social media, we can find probably answers there, and a lot of answers we really can find there. But maybe I was too lazy, so I just sent the photo to my friend, and I said, please save me and tell me what should I do to make this sunflower a little bit better. So she said me, put more colors, we'll be okay. For the second, we'll be okay. So that's the more or less final version. But what this story tells to us that we can use technologies. They provide us a lot of opportunities, and we as an artist, we can use these opportunities, and maybe we can make our art better, or at least different. Of course, there are different opportunities, and I will speak about them, how we can use technologies and what kind of opportunities it gives for us. And one of the stories is related again with the same of my friend who gave me advice about the sunflower. She's an artist, she's a real artist, not like I, but she likes different challenges. And once she received a phone call from one lady who asked her to participate in one project. She said, Datsun, you are a great artist. You have done it several times. We would like to involve you in this project. You will have to organize workshops in painting twice per week for 2 hours, etc., etc. And she almost said yes, but then that lady said these workshops will be for blind people. She said, what? It's like kind of bad joke. And they said, no, it's reality. We have a group of blind adults, and they are really willing to learn how to paint, how to draw. And first of all, she was like scared of that. But then she was thinking that, okay, I don't have experience in that, but maybe no one here in Latvia has such experience. So she accepted that offer, and she decided to participate in this project. And what is the interesting point? Probably some of you will ask how blind people can draw. They can. Thanks to different technologies, there are different devices that they can find out what is this color. So they are just using something like that, and oh, it's white, so I'm taking the white color, or that's black, so I'm taking, the device is saying like the color. So this is how she started to work with them, and she felt really excited. She said, you haven't seen so great people before. They are so enthusiastic, so joyful, and so motivated to learn, actually. And would you like to see the result of their work? So here it is. As a result, they made like different paintings, and she was also quite surprised about the result. She said the result looks like it's made by some first-year student in art academy. And after the painting was made, she put it on the caps, and she tried to sell these caps, because the sad point of the story was that it was kind of project in which those people were involved, and when the project ended, the funding stopped, but those people still felt that they would like to continue because they felt that art is a great thing. And then she started to search for business opportunities, how to continue this activity. So she started to make those caps, and she started to sell them in different places, and as a result she got kind of money, and that money was later on used for the workshops she organized for those blind people. And yeah, so thanks to technologies, those blind people are able to draw and to become an artist. Another story, which I a little bit presented already last year, is called Blind Art. This is also a company which employs blind people. And here you can see the book, which is written by 4 blind people. So the story is made by themselves. And the cartoons are made by blind children. And the book is made like by blind people, but it can be read by people who can see. And after that, they continued their activities, and they made also porcelain dishes. And those heroes from the book, they found their life on the plate as well. But this is kind of a special plate. From one side, it looks like simple plate with a cartoon on it. But actually, this is plate with the movie. You know, sometimes there is a problem with children that you have to motivate them to eat everything what is on the plate. And they are saying, oh, no, I don't want anymore. But by using this plate, you can tell them that if you will eat everything what is on the plate, you will see the movie. Because by using an overlay application through the mobile phone, you can watch the movie about that animal or hero you can see on the plate. So again, just thanks to technologies, the plates becomes different. They went further. They started to sell also paintings of blind people. And their new thing, which is really something fresh, they made design products called Burbur. And these are really special design products. They make sofas, pillows, bags, and they are made in a special technique. They cooperated with engineering students, with art students. So as a result, they made really brilliant design products, which are made, by the way, by the same blind people. And why such company was created? It is created by young guy who is normally working in marketing, in advertising, and he said that he just wanted to find a deeper meaning for his life, for his professional life, because we can, of course, do our regular job, but he wanted to do something more. And I think the things he's doing are really brilliant, and the things he creates are with add value, actually. So let's continue with the stories. One more, also interesting company in Latvia is called Ova Fashion, again about design. And in this company, they use high quality prints of watercolor paintings. So you can choose different paintings. There are just some of them, and you can print them on the t-shirts, underwear, wherever you want. So again, with the simple technologies, we can turn our watercolor paintings into real products. And again, this story is not only about printing, not about digital art, not only about design. This is a story about the person who has created that company. And in this case, this is that young girl, Natalie, who is the owner of this company, establisher of this company, together with a designer. And she is actually she has a genetic illness since childhood, and she just found herself in the art, in a business, by the way, also, because while she was working like ordinary work in a company, and when she faced with those health problems, she started to think, what will gonna happen if I will lose the job? So she decided that she can create the job maybe by herself, the company by herself. And the second passion of her, it was the design and the chemistry. So she used her skills in a nice company, in Ova Fashion. And now she's creating those beautiful watercolor paintings on the t-shirts. So, what else? Sometimes the big ideas arise from small ideas, actually. Or big dreams are coming from the small dreams. One girl in Latvia, she decided to make her shop where she will sell the socks. At that moment, it was quite free niche for that business, so she started to sell those socks, and she said, I was really surprised how confident I am about that. She said, actually, I'm quite shy, but I was ready to invite people to the shop and so on. But it was 2008, but after a few years, she started to think that she want to do something more, not only sell the socks. She went further, and she created a design which is well known already in Northern Europe, Amoral. Maybe ladies know, yes. So that comes from Latvia. The underwear, the lingerie, nightwear, the dream of almost all women, maybe also for men. And the fact is that she started with a dream, with a small idea, and she became stronger. And it was also thanks to the technologies. Partly because, of course, first of all, you need a good product, which is interesting, but the second thing, you have to somehow promote it. And of course, they had a homepage, they have a Facebook page, but it's important that some celebrities can see you, that some famous magazines can find you. And that company actually was recognized by Vogue, by Cosmopolitan. Different famous models presented their clothes, like Kate Moss. And nowadays, their products are available in more than 20 countries, and they use different internet platforms to sell their products, and also they sell their brand franchise. So it means, and it shows that one small company, one lady at the beginning can achieve actually her dreams. And important is that there are those technologies which can help us to achieve our dreams. And sometimes ladies in Latvia are saying that these are very fashionable clothes, but where can we wear them and so on. And then once she said that, who has said that, for example, in the kitchen you should walk with sport trousers. Maybe you can wear something beautiful instead of that. Yeah. So the story about technologies, about dreams, and about beauty, actually. But sometimes technologies can make us some problems as well. It's not always so easy. There is the second part of the coin. And another story will show us how we can use technologies and how we can react on them. In Latvia, like I think in other countries, there is a museum which is called Open Air Museum, where you can see typical old Latvian houses, etc. Usually when we talk about such museums, it seems quite boring, and especially for the young generation. And once, one guy in social networks answered on the question which was asked by his friend. He said, "So what will you gonna do?" And he said, "I have to go with the class to some shit." Sorry. And he said about this open-air museum. But the good point is that open-air museum employees, they saw that post and they reacted on that post. They answered them, "We also would like to know what kind of shit will gonna happen in our place." So that post became very, very popular. And some people were like disappointed how you can talk like that in social networks. Some were surprised that the Open Air Museum is in social networks, so this is a good point. And as a result, that guy, of course, he went with the class to this Open Air Museum. And what happened there? The lady from this Open Air Museum, she met that guy and she gave him a ticket that he can come to the Open Air Museum a whole year for free. So to discover what they have, and that actually they are quite interesting place. And that post was really popular in Latvia, and everybody wanted to see how looks this guy who made that not very nice post. But it means that we, as an artist, we have to understand that there will be different comments in internet, and we have to cope somehow with them. And it's not always maybe easy. Well, let's go further. Very interesting examples can be found not only in when we talk about some design products, but also in sound world as well. And sometimes people actually try to hide from those technologies. They try to escape from them. They want to be in a silence, alone, and so on. And they try to get inspired there. And one of such projects was made by one of the artists in Latvia, who, as a result, made an installation called Undercurrents. He decided to get inspiration in such a place as Arctic. And he decided to go to the farthest point of the Arctic where still lives people. It's called Svalbard. And he made 2 expeditions. The first, during the first one, he tried to record the landscape and also the sound of the nature, the sound how ice is melting, how a river is floating. So they tried to record these real sounds. And during the second expedition, they already tried to record not only the real sound of the nature, but he went together with a Norwegian saxophone player, and they were recording this how he's playing in this real environment. And as a result, he made like installation in Norway, by the way, where he bring ice pieces, and in total the weight was 32 tons. And on those ice pieces. They showed music and also like a picture, let's say. I will just show you how it looks like. Yeah, it's quite fresh from this year. Okay, and after this performance, he just left those ice, the piece of ice there for melting, and it's kind of a reminder for our generation what is happening in Arctic because of our lifestyle, that air is changing and the environment is changing. So it was kind of installation and quite interesting project where technologies are combined with real nature, let's say. But if you want to see just beautiful ice sculptures, you have to come to Latvia to the Ice Sculpture Festival during the February, where different artists from whole world are coming and making just beautiful sculptures. Just don't miss, because sometimes it's just one day when it's quite cold, but sometimes this can be 2 weeks. You never know. Kind of surprise. Also people try to find inspiration in other parts of the environment. Sometimes they are speaking with stones, but sometimes stones are speaking with people. And this is again one interesting example, one interesting project in Latvia. Several years ago, there were made those talking stones. So on the real stones, there were projected images, and they were telling different stories. So it was also quite interesting to see how stones are speaking, by the way. So here we can see that technologies provides us with different opportunities. We just have to use them in a right way. But if we look from the perspective of the consumer who is consuming the art, it also gives us a lot of opportunities, or the art becomes more accessible for us as consumers. For example, several years ago, to watch Verdi Aida, you had to go maybe to New York. But nowadays, you can just go to the cinema and watch opera without any problems. Also, technologies comes into very traditional events as well. And here I want to just show you one really important event which is happening in Latvia every 5 years, but which becomes more modern thanks to technologies, more accessible thanks to technologies. And here you can see the biggest maybe choir in the whole world, the biggest amateur choir in the whole world. Every 5 years in Latvia, we organize Song and Dance Festival, where take a part ordinary people who are singing and who are dancing. And just to give you insight of this, I will show you a short video, and then I will show you how the technologies are used during this event to give the better effect.
This is a story about ordinary people brought together by an extraordinary tradition. Singing in Latvia carries an emotional imperative. It's part of everyday life. The choral tradition goes back centuries and was vital in developing a national identity. During tough times, songs about the sun or the wind carried a message of freedom and hope. Nowhere else can these layers of history and emotion be heard as powerfully as here at the Latvian nationwide song and dance celebration. collection of thousands of folk songs, the Dainas, passed down through generations, are the foundation of this phenomenon, this movement, this celebration, which brings together people from all walks of life. UNESCO has recognized the nationwide song and dance celebration as a masterpiece of the heritage of humanity.
Around 500,000 people on that stage and visitors.
With roots in the past and eyes to the future, our voices reaffirm a love for our nation, our freedom, and our traditions. And so we come together to sing and to dance, time and time again.
So, tradition since, traditions alive since 1873, and it has become kind of brand, well-known brand. And because of such events, there arise different challenges. For example, when this year they said that at that day we will start to sell tickets to this event, it wasn't possible to get those tickets because there were the real rows. People were waiting for they hoped that they will buy the ticket. There were also virtual rows because people hope that they will buy online the ticket. They started to buy, at 10 o'clock, and maybe at 3, some of the lucky got the ticket. So if you look from that point of view, it seems like these events are not accessible, and maybe some 50, 100 years ago it would be so. But today, thanks to technologies, we could watch in TV. Unfortunately, at that week, I wasn't in Latvia, but I could watch everything through the Facebook because people shared their experience, they shared their videos, and I had a feeling that I'm there as well. And also, even in Australia, people could see what is happening in our small country in Latvia, where are living only 1.8 million people. So probably you will ask, are there all people who are living in Latvia? More or less, yes. But what is also interesting, that thanks to technologies, we can engage consumers in our art as well. And if we look on this beautiful event, Song and Dance Festival, the organizers were thinking how to engage more people in this event. Because one thing is that you are just attending and listening in presence or in front of TV, but you can be there also in a different way. They made application in mobile phone, and you could become a singer as well, even if you haven't sang in your life. If you haven't been in any choir, even in the school, you could sing by using very simple application. So I will just show you how it looks like. How can you become one of the singers? So it's just short introduction. So you are just keeping the mobile phone in front of you. It's like in karaoke, they show the words and you can hear the music and you just sing. And in that event, you will be on the stage together with others. So in this year, around 450 people recorded their voices and faces, and they were on the screen together with other thousands and thousands of people. So this is, again, how can we use the technologies to make cultural events even more attractive, and how we can engage our consumers. We can engage not only the adults, we can engage also kids. For example, during that time, there was made also first robot choir in Latvia, and the kids who were in a camp where they learned about programming, they also made a song for that event, and you will see. Okay. It's first a robot choir who is singing a Latvian folk song, by the way. At that moment, they are just programming the robots to make the common song. This is art as well. Yeah, so technologies, art, kids, and everything is possible. So just some examples how you can engage more and more people in that. And what is interesting, such events show the power of the art. And after this event, there were a lot of comments in Facebook, and one which I really loved was like that. A lot of people are saying that Latvia is a small country. That's true. And that's why we have like a small army. Like more or less true. But isn't it true? Because if you look on that, then it seems it's not really true, because this is our army, the song and dance. This is our power, by the way. So such examples show that art has a real power, and we can do with this a lot of things. And sometimes even we don't need to create something really, really new, something very innovative, something very simple. Things can make a great effect on the things. For example, if in some concerts all people are raising their hands with their mobile phones, it looks not like mobile phone army, it looks like candle army actually, yeah? And this gives completely different feeling. And the last thing I would like to add to all this is that technologies are a brilliant thing, but sometimes artists try to cross the borders. Sometimes we don't think that this is crossing the borders. Maybe this is the part of the art. But yeah, there are people who are trying to become technologies by themselves, let's say. For example, famous artist Orlana, probably you know. World knows her photographies, her installations, performances, sculptures, and the world knows her because of her performances, surgeries, which are made in world of art. So she's making her surgeries not in a surgery hall, but in a Baroque theater. She is dressed in specially designed clothes. She is reading poetry through the surgery while she can read. And why this is also called art? Because she's trying to become similar to somebody. For example, she changed her forehead to look more like Mona Lisa. She tried to change her chin to look like more Venice. So this is again kind of using of technologies in the art, and of course it can be always under discussion. Is it like powerful work of the art or not, but this is how people also try to adapt technologies in their art, how they try to link art, science together. And there are even let's say, deeper stories about that. And I will show you just one of them. But these stories all are about the senses, that people try to open the new senses which can help them to create art. For example, if you are looking on this picture, what do you see there? Socks. What else? Beautiful legs, yellow socks. Yeah. Okay, so, but somebody can hear the sound of yellow socks. Maybe somebody of you can hear how smell, I don't know, dirty yellow socks or fresh yellow socks. Well, he can. First, cyborg artist Neil Harbison, who can hear the colors. He was born colorblind. He could see the world only in two colors, black and white, and actually, by being a cyborg artist, he still can see the world in only two colors, like in black and white television, but he can hear the colors. And he can even hear such colors like which we cannot see, like ultraviolet. You may ask, why it's necessary? Well, there are some advantages, because when he hears that color, ultraviolet, he knows that it's not a good day for sunbathing, for example. Yeah? But of course, what he did, he was interested in art. He was, by the way, he was studying music composition, and he was also interested in cybernetics. And he decided to change his life, or he wanted to hear the colors. So he put this antenna in his skull, and it took him for a quite long time because there were like 4 surgeries. But as a result, he had this antenna in his skull. First of all, he wanted to make like a third eyes, but then he decided that this is more common thing because a lot of animals have antenna. So why not human beings? Of course, it makes quite a lot of challenges in his life. For example, if you want to make a picture for passport, it's not so easy, because you know that you are not allowed to use some technical devices on your head. And you have to persuade that those, for example, ladies in a passport institution that it's not kind of technology, this is me, and I cannot take it out of my head. And he said that people usually are looking on him and thinking, what is this? And he said at the beginning, when he did this, it was 2004, people thought that it's a kind of light. After a few years, people thought that it's kind of microphone. Then they thought it's kind of device for chatting. Nowadays, people are thinking that this is kind of Google Glass. And sometimes people feel quite uncomfortable because they have a feeling that he's filming them. But that's he. And he can really hear these colors, and he can hear them through the bones. I don't know the feeling of that, but probably it's a strange feeling. And as a result, he started to paint. He started to paint the music, the speeches. And for example, here you can see the painting of Justin Bieber's Baby. Also, here you can see 2 speeches. One is speech of Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and another speech is speech of Hitler. What do you think? Which one is Martin Luther King and which one is Hitler? Or which you like best? You are afraid to say, yeah? Okay. This one, by the way, is Martin Luther King, and this is Hitler. Quite colorful speech. Yeah. And the fact is that he believes that technologies can help us to extend our senses. And he believes that in the future it will be very normal that each of us will have some extra sense. Yep, to do something or to hear something in a different, more or less, I don't know. But what I would like to say at the end, that maybe in the future, it will be normal that we will have some implant technologies in our bodies. But, and we will use probably technologies in different ways, but I think that the most important thing is to remember that we all are human beings, and our greatest extra sense is our heart. And what we hear already before lunch, that because of that great thing, we can give the love, we can give the art, and we can do a lot of beautiful things which cannot be provided with let's say, naked technologies. So it's always kind of compromise between technologies, between art, between human being, and it's always important to find the right solution and the right and your way. So thank you for your attention. Ready for the questions?
Okay, questions. Where is Asia to help me?
Yep, back there. Coming to you. So you can ask your question. I can hold it for you.
Thank you. I would like, for this choir event, I would like to know, is it possible to be a part, because it's filled up, so you need to join in the internet?
After 5 years. After 5 years you can join, yes. Because it's happening every 5 years. So this year it already happened at the beginning of July. So unfortunately this year you missed this beautiful event. But after 5 years you can attend, yes.
But there is no space to sit or stand.
Yes, it's quite a challenge. Yes, because this year they built a bigger stage because this year there were extra a lot of participants and visitors as well, 500,000 in total, visitors plus participants. But it's possible. It's possible to get there if you really want.
Yes, at the front. Just a sec. Okay, coming towards me.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Lasma, for amazing performances and sharing with us so many amazing examples how people can create and use these technologies. So this confirms once again that collaboration in a smart and large size of people, it's a future of our sharing of love. Thank you again.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And did I get it correctly that the woman with the name Orlaga was that?
Orlana.
She, so people can come to an event where they see how a surgery is being done on her?
Usually it's through the internet, yeah, but she's making performances where you can observe what she's doing in the present. And usually it's something extraordinary as well, yes. Her performances are very unusual.
So is that kind of like the style of Maria Abramovich?
Yes,
the performance
yes,
art
yeah.
direction?
Okay. The same. Okay, there is one question.
Oh, I see. All right, I can make it.
Okay. How do you think about these wonderful examples he's given for us as a Christian Artists Congress in light of a movement in the world of what would be called critical making, where people are making objects, performances that are a commentary on injustices in society? I have a daughter who's working on her PhD in critical making. So do you think about it in those terms? Because, I mean, even in a sense, with God's love for all nations, it's still a good thing to have a national identity, and so the dance is wonderful. And it feels to me, and I'm reading into this, like it's an identity against Soviet reinvasion. Okay? To say this is who we are, and it's not warlike, it's dancing and singing. But but at the same time as we're keeping our identity, we're doing and we're making an event that is a criticism of other possibilities in the world. Does that make sense? So my question for you is, how do you think about the examples you gather and the work you do in reference to the idea of, it's almost like Jeremiah doing a play laying in the street and protesting what's happening to Israel. How do you think about, do you ever think about this in terms of critical making? That's my question.
So you mean, is it kind of type of protest or something like that? If you talk about the Sing and Dance Festival, it happened also, yeah, during the Soviet Union times, but the songs were different, the dances were different. And I think that the format can change, but the idea, the tradition, it is in. And it doesn't matter, it's Soviet Union time or it's independent Latvia, but the feeling you want to say with this, it is there anyway. Just, the format changes. Okay, did I answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have a question myself. So the pictures we've seen with the many squares and many colors, and one was the speech, one was a song. How are they exactly done? I didn't really get it. So like the tones that they use throughout the songs and speech are transferred into colors?
Because each sound has its own color. You can watch in Teddy these speeches as well. He's showing, for example, like that. Oh, this is like a color of flower. Or he took, for example, the green clothes, and he said, oh, this is color of grass. So each color has its vibration, and he said, I just had to remember what is this like color based on this vibration which is in his bones.
Okay.
So, and that's why. So he heard this sound and he recognized the color of that, and that's how he's painting that.
That sounds really cool.
I'd like to add a comment about Latvia. We all should know that after World War II, I mean, that has been a terrible time for that nation. And then at the end of all those atrocities, 50% of the population was killed or away to Gulag archipels far away in Russia. And that those songs and dances has been vital to restore national identity. I hope that's okay that I add to that,
it's very
because
good.
I know a little bit more about those backgrounds, and I thought it was beautiful. And if you see that it is alive and really working with the people, young and old, then I think, my goodness, what have we lost in our Western societies? Because most of you were too young, but in the West we had the Cultural Revolution of the 60s. That's quite some time ago. And in the 60s of last century, let's say all those elements who are vital for national identity were kicked out of the window. People laughed about it, especially in the Netherlands. I mean, folk art was hilarious. It was only done by stupid people and so on and so on. And the cultural elite had literally bent it away in every possible way, from national television, from national radio, out of the magazines, the papers, everything. This was only done by stupid people, backwarded people, and it should not be seen again. And the devastating effect on our Dutch nation is enormous. And now we are wrestling with the problem. If you are a little bit in the high-level cultural debates of our Dutch nation, is what is our national identity? And that's now our problem today, because we had let it go in the 60s, last century. So if I see this and think, my goodness, how beautiful. I almost started crying and think, that's what we should do, sing and dance together. What else will combine the people, you know? the Netherlands is a country with many immigrants. How else can we combine the people than through the arts? And we lost the possibilities. So, wow, maybe I should move over to Latvia.
And even those who are living abroad, those Latvians, because there are a lot of Latvians who are living in Ireland, UK, Germany, they are coming to this event. Because they are even, by living there, they are still singing and they are trying to keep these traditions. And during that event, they are coming, and some of them have even made by themselves those folk dresses, and they are singing, and they again feel like real Latvian, because when you are abroad, you lose like your identity, but at that moment we feel like one, and at that moment it doesn't matter do we like our politicians or we don't. We are together, so it's a really great power, and which is made because we are united by the song and dance. Okay.
Any more?
Do you know something about the origin of this feast day? Is it each 5 years exactly the same date in July, or what happened in 1873? What was because usually when you have such a big feast, it used to be something behind the story of Latvia, or I don't know.
I don't remember about the first the singing festival, but the idea was also to unify the people, and it happens really every 5 years, and it's usually in summer because it's open like air stage, so even practical matters. And I remember from my grandmother's stories that she participated in the one of the last singing festival when the German army came, yeah, and it was not at that time. It wasn't in Riga. It wasn't in another town organized, and so even in those tough times, people were singing, yeah. So
Yes, over here.
To continue on something what Lane said, he was sort of saying that this kind of cultural festival could help people integrate into society. Is that really something you have observed in Latvia, that foreigners become more integrated into society and are get the opportunity also to participate in these kinds of events?
Yep. There are even some choirs which are made not from Latvians but from the other nations. They just have to learn those songs because they are singing Latvian songs. But there are those who are already living in Latvia for several years. They are like those foreign ensembles, foreign choirs. They are participating. Yeah. And of course, as visitors, there are always a lot of visitors for other countries who just want to see in a presence that.
Here at the front. I'll hold it from here.
Lasma, did you get to sing in the choir?
This year I didn't, but I have done this when I was in school, because there are this festival like for the schoolmates as well, like separate. And then after the 5 years, it was like for adults, more for like for different ages, let's say. And when I was in a high school, yes, then I was small part of all this big event as singer, yeah.
Nice. Actually, I have a question about this young man with the thing in his skull.
Antenna, yeah.
Antenna in his skull. Two things are going through my head. Firstly, nowadays, aren't there also these glasses that you can put on for colorblind people so they see?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I understand he found his. Otherwise, he couldn't paint these paintings, right?
Yeah,
so it's
because of the
because
he
of
wanted
the
to
thing.
open a different sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his choice. But also for me, I don't know. My senses are tingling a little as a Christian because he interfered with his own skull and just went, to the core of his head. And I'm in denial. So on the one side, I think, okay, he found his way as an artist. He paints this way now, but he interfered with a very, very vital part of his body. Whereas nowadays, he can just buy some glasses without doing that surgery. So I'm...
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
kind of decision always, and I think kind of discussion always, to do or not to do, to be or not to be. Yeah.
No questions? Okay. Lasma, thank you so much. And
Thank
you
you.
get our
Thank you very
present,
much. Thank
a piece
you.
of art.
Thank you.
Do
Thank
not
you.
forget us.
I won't. I
Yeah.
won't. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
As Christian artists, we should think about as well the political side of art. And here we are nice and well, and all is okay. But yeah, if you look into our Dutch history, my goodness. Recently, with our new government, there was a whole debate on our national anthem. Should we teach the children in school our national anthem? It's a very Christian song. It was composed about 500 years ago and stands literally for our liberation from the Spanish dictator king. And then we have a debate about this. And then we get a debate about should or should we not have our national flag in our parliament. And you read that stuff and then you start thinking, in what type of world I'm living in? I mean, you cannot believe that stuff. And that is very elitist, but I think we as Christian artists should as well be part of those elitist discussions. Yeah? Our art has a meaning, like the artist had meaning and added meaning to our worlds through all the ages. We all stand on their shoulders, right? We should never forget that. So sometimes we let things go, and after a while we think, why did we do this? So there's a lot always to think about. I say this too because I just received a note. We had a participant from coming from Pakistan. He's a Christian. And it took 3 months to get done for him all the papers and stamps here from the Netherlands and finally of the embassy in Pakistan. So, the day before yesterday, he arrived at the airport with his passport, his ticket, and all the stacks of papers. And then finally the border police did not allow him to step into the airplane because in his passport thing, that this young man, this artist, was a Christian. And they kicked him off the plane. They did not let him get on the plane. I mean, this is terrorism. That's religious terrorism. This is the state of Pakistan today, you know, holding back a nice young man, a Christian, who wanted to be here to learn and to help building his community in Pakistan. He was not a refugee. His church put every euro together, you know, to make him come here. They all paid for him. And then this, I mean, I was so upset. So we have to pray for Christians in Pakistan and all those nations. Because not in every place of the world is all nice and cool. Yeah, that's sad.
America wouldn't let him in either.
Huh?
America wouldn't accept him on the other end either. Pray for
Yeah,
them too.
probably. But okay, unfortunately this happened. But just that you know. Jill, where are you? Come on. Hey, hier. Rijer. Ja, hier is hier.
Yeah. I need another microphone. I've got another mic. Zeker. I've got another mic. Thank you. That's great. Cheers. It's very nice to meet you. We'll make this up. So we welcome Raya to the stage. Could you say your full name for me? Because this is our first meeting.
Yes, it's a very difficult Dutch name. It's Raya van Drongelen. Repeat after me, van Drongelen.
Raya from Dungelung.
Nailed it.
Say that again.
Rijer van Drongelen. But if you keep it with Rijer, it's
Raya
fine.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Now, I don't even know if this is your first time at Christian Artists, is it?
This is, yes.
Well, that's
Very much
fantastic.
so.
Round of applause. First time. Thank you. I'm just checking
Thank you
you're
so
awake
much.
as well. Well, welcome. It's really
Thank you
good to
so
have
much.
you here. And you're a recording artist and worship leader.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. And, well, where should we start? Where did it all begin for you?
Well, I grew up in a very musical household.
Okay.
So my father is a music teacher in school, and he always brought home like musicals, like Sound of Music, all on VCR, I think, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
like a video,
The old cassettes.
and Cats and all those things. So we got the musical education, and I think it started like around when I was a teenager. I started playing more and more guitar in keys in church. That drew my attention, and I love doing it. So I think it started from there. It's just more and more fascinated by playing music for God, and and it grew from there. So it became one big passion for me. Yeah.
And so what are you actually doing now? Because a lot of people don't know you and they don't quite know what you're doing at this very moment. So can you sort of give us an idea of what you're doing now?
Right now, I'm
Yeah.
being with you beautiful people in the Christian Artist Seminar.
Yeah.
What I mainly do is I produce music as well for myself as for other artists in the Netherlands and abroad. I lead worship at conferences here in the Netherlands and abroad. I write songs. I love variety, so I love is a variety like doing all kinds of
Yes.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
just checking. And I also make remixes. They're like a lot of well-known worship songs, and I thought, why aren't there like dance is becoming a huge thing? Is a huge thing in the whole entire world, but like gospel dance wasn't. Andy Hunter, of course, but I was wondering why isn't there like worship dance? So I started making remixes.
Okay.
And they caught on very well. So very happy with that. Yeah.
And what contexts are your arrangements used in? I mean, are they used specifically within the mega church, or are they used in other ways?
Well, I think the songs I write themselves are like both for like small settings, if you want to play with guitar, just 3 or 4 people or 10 people. But I also make the remixes I just mentioned, as well as the more production-based music with beats and synths and stuff. They can be very well used for like the larger events, like conferences or youth services. So yeah, it's like a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hear that you do travel the world. So maybe you could give us an idea of some of your globe-trotting activities as well, where you've been recently, perhaps how your pieces have been used across the globe.
Yeah, well, I think by far the remixes have caught on the best. So I think it started in 2013. You had the song, I don't know if people are familiar with Chris Tomlin and Martin Smith, those guys. Pretty well-known guys, and they wrote a song, God's Great Dance Floor. And we were playing around with it at a conference, and I was like going through my sounds, like keyboard sounds, and I found this dancey synth, and it sounded like what you hear in the radio, like David Guetta and those guys. And I decided I had a very little experience in producing, so I just decided to try it another time and just to make a track, a beat, and try to record the song over it. And I uploaded it to YouTube, and the first few weeks it was like, I don't know, 3 viewers or whatever, and just didn't catch on quite well. But after I think a few months, 2-3 months, more and more viewers came in, and it's crazy how fast it went after that, because I'm now like over, I don't know, millions of views in countries all over the world, and people are using it in gym classes, but also in youth services and in conferences. So cool to see, and yeah, I don't know. I've gotten a few invitations to play at Lithuania. I'm going to Mauritius. It's called like with Madagascar, the island.
Oh, Mauritius.
Mauritius.
Mauritius, yeah.
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 Not a punishment to go there.
Very
so,
nice. Very nice.
So I'm looking forward to that, and it's crazy. I think the remixes by far are like the best received. So yeah.
Ah, fantastic. And so what do you think the future holds? Are you going to continue with this kind of line of work, or do you see yourself collaborating with others continually, looking for new sounds, looking for new ways?
Yeah, well, I do love collaborating. I love it very much. And I, like speaking on the remixes, I did already use a lot of vocal artists, you know, well-known, but also just friends of mine who are singing, and just to be in the process of working together and everybody bringing their own flavor, their own sound to the table, and creating something completely unique out of that. It gets me very excited. So I love that. And I think for the coming year, I'm planning on recording like a remix record.
Okay.
With, you know, the well-known worship remix, like with a beautiful name or whatever, you know, the songs the church are singing right now, but maybe with a bit more attitude, a bit more, yeah.
And the songwriters themselves, they're open to this reconstruction of their work.
Yeah, I did receive like a few positive reactions.
Good.
I didn't receive any negative ones, but I'm not sure if they would send it to me. But you know, I talked with Martin Smith over it, and he loved it. And it's very, you know, it's very cool to see. Joel Houston of Hillsong, I did a remix of Oceans, and I sent it to Twitter, and he retweeted it, and I was very happy with it. So that's a big compliment for me. And the fun thing for me is that people who aren't like used to listening to the worship style music, you know, with the guitars and the pads, and they're not really into that, but they're more into like radio music and like the mainstream. They now have, they say to me, they now have like a way to listen to worship music and enjoying it, and because it's like in a music language they understand and they speak.
Okay.
And that's to me is the biggest compliment of all. It's so cool to get back. Yeah.
You're connecting with your music with new people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now you fall into an interesting camp, because we've been talking about particularly how artists kind of practice, but also make a living. So do you do all of this full time, or do you have another job?
I do this full time. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you support yourself on a very practical sense financially? Are you supported by church, or are you paid per song, per project?
Well, it's a combination of all things I do. So if I were only to be like a songwriter, or only to be an artist, like performing in the country, I think it would make a very, you know, I would just tie the ends together at the end of the month. But because I do so many things I like, I think altogether, for me it works very well. But it's, you know, it's like built up over the years. So I started, I think, 2013, 2014, now seriously.
Yes.
Putting out an album, and which, you know, the first album didn't go very well per se. It was received well, but it's not like it was, you know, immediate success. But so it all, like, over time, it built up to like a constructive source of income. What you said, like royalty payments, CD sales, performance, that kind of stuff. So combined, and I produce for other artists. So that's like for
That's helpful.
Yeah,
that's very
that
helpful.
helps.
So what have your main challenges been, do you think, along the way, as you've been going step by step? What have been your challenges?
Like in general?
Yeah.
I think keeping the passion in your heart alive, remembering why you're doing what you're doing. I was talking about this earlier with someone, that it's very easy to lose sight of the one thing you're doing this for, and the person you're doing this for. So I always try to keep my eyes on Jesus. You know, when I make worship music, it should be all about Him. And I immediately I notice it when the passion now is like I don't know, is lessened, because I notice it in my. I start comparing myself more to artists. I start thinking about the practical stuff more, about the money, about the all those things that that shouldn't matter, and I start emphasizing those. And the moment I recognize, and the moment I discover again, how great our God is and how worthy He is to be praised, and worthy of all our creativity, everything we make, that makes me so excited and enthusiastic, and just to make the best I can. And but it's hard. It's especially when things are going fine, and you have the choice just to sit back and enjoy those things and see it as a job. And but I don't think it would last very long if I were to see it as that. So I try to keep it fresh and keep connected, and yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And if you were going to give advice to anyone here who might find themselves in a similar position to you with a similar set of creative skills, what advice might you give to others?
I'm trying now to not come up with cliches.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you a cliche anyway. I think for me, like, discovering what you like, of course, but maybe searching a bit deeper in yourself when it comes to, you have all those examples around you of certain people doing something, whether they're like a worship artist or a secular artist or whatever, or a singer or drummer. You can, but I would try to like search a bit deeper, and maybe your the remix stuff just came as a surprise, actually. So I was like searching for new stuff to do. What doesn't exist yet? Why isn't there like an EDM scene for Christian music? That's what worked for me, and just to invent yourself again and again. And I think a lot of people who ask me about what I do, like, really underestimate how much work you put into it, and how much time you put into it, how much you invest in your craft, in whatever you do. Just work incredibly hard, go the extra mile, because if it's what you love, that wouldn't be such an offer to make. It would be because you love it, it's your passion, you should go to full 100%. I think just those two things worked for me. Just try to be creative. I don't like to think in limitations. So I do have, like, for the bigger events, I have a manager, and the conversations always start with me having an idea and her going, "No, we can't do that. There's no money. No, none of the people." And I always think, "Oh, it's going to be okay," And sometimes it gets to be okay, and it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and you just start over, do something else. And I like to think big, and I have a lot of dreams, but none of them. A lot of them came true already, but a lot of them didn't. That's okay, Just I want to be adventurous. I want to be surprised with what's possible with God and what's possible with the music. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And we're going to be hearing you, is it tonight or tomorrow night?
Yeah, tonight I'm playing.
Tonight,
yes.
You're playing tonight. So we'll really look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you ever so much for sharing. That's really
course.
great. Let's
My
just give a
pleasure.
hand to Rhea. Stay there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Rhea about his ministry, his work? Anything that you'd like to ask before we have a tea break? Do we have a...
Yes, at the back again. With translation again, or? Yeah.
Hi. So, hello, brother. And congratulations for everything you're doing. Yeah, it's great. I have a question. A very central question, very important question for me. Because everybody's speaking about creativity. And when you speak about creativity, you're speaking about new things. So I appreciate what you're doing. Don't you think that working with songs that have been sung about, well, for centuries, isn't it like, okay, isn't it, don't you put makeup on old songs? It's not a critic, I just wonder. Because I believe that in America people want new things. In Africa and Europe it's the same. You want new songs in churches. I don't know for you. Do you also have projects on new things because you have a lot of talent? You're talented. Can you give something new instead of working on
absolutely.
Old things?
Very good question, a very ironical question, because actually I was talking about new stuff. Well, as far as the remixes go, I like the singing and covering songs that already exist. You know, it happens, of course, every week in churches worldwide. Yeah, that's good songs are good songs, so you should sing them. That in itself isn't maybe original, but the thought of like translating those songs to a music style that isn't like that doesn't exist yet or isn't being done that often, to me that was the challenge. Just to have like an old familiar song, you know, How Great Is Your God, or you know, God's Great Dance Floor, or I Am Free, you know, those anthems. I wanted to like combine the EDM world, which often like combines with drugs and partying and everything. I wanted to combine it with the Word of God and praising Him. And that was for me the challenge. But I do have original songs, fortunately. So I do write my own new music. It's being sung in churches here in Netherlands. So that's some of the other projects I do. But yeah, so I do both, and I put maybe the most creativity like. I love like leading worship, like in the conventional way with the guitar and with the band, and I do write a lot of those songs for myself. A few albums out, and but I you know, I couldn't resist like making the remixes because I enjoy making them so much. So yeah, it's a good question. So the creativity lies in like remixing the songs.
Yes. I'll just come over here. Sorry.
Thank you. So, talk shop with me for a minute. I've been a worship leader, guitar, and bands for 45 years now. So I love doing this. You're the next generation. For the next generation after you, I have a grandson who's writing hip-hop songs and protest lyrics, okay? What's the technology? What tools are the most useful to you when you get on your computer, when you're doing remixes and when you're doing electronic backgrounds for songs? What are you using?
Like software-wise?
Craftsmanship, software, yeah.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to producing, I use as well, like FL Studio is like a program being used a lot by, you know, I don't know if the names are familiar, but like Martin Garrix and David Guetta and Afrojack and those DJ guys. And I use Logic, and that's more for band-related productions. And a lot of synth plugins. If you just, there's a site called equipboard.com. Equipboard.com.
Yes.
If you look for like any artist, like you could look for Calvin Harris, but also like bands, U2, I think even, and you can see the equipment they use. as well as like software, as amplifiers, as guitars. And you can just, oh wow, that sound I heard in that song, I want to recreate that or I want to tweak with that. You can just search for that on that site. That's very helpful for me. So yeah, those programs I use.
I see this as being contextualized worship music into the wider world. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Rijer and Jill.
My pleasure.
And we have our coffee break. Please be back 10 minutes to 4.